Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Nate Thomas, who is the managing partner of the Vendor Solution. Nate, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Nate Thomas. Who I am, I think probably most importantly, I have a wife, been married for about 6 years, and I have three kids, all under the age of 5. So we have gone through about 2,000 diapers and maybe 50,000 wipes in the last 4 years. It's been awesome and hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. The business that we run. So we run like it's a commercial property maintenance company. And so to put it simply, everything from the ground up to the roof of a commercial property, we maintain it. So that's cleaning, lawn care, snow removal, asphalt, concrete, painting, all of that. We maintain it and we repair it. I got into this business about 6 years ago. And the founder, so yeah, kind of like right when we got married too. And the founder hired me. I was the first hire the founder made. And I knew he told me what our business model was. And I just thought, man, this is awesome. This is something that I would use. I would be a client of a company like this. And so I thought for sure that's something that I can sell, which is a main part of my role at our company is sales. But also the founder is just he's a good man and a man that I had a lot of trust in. And so I thought I can get behind the leader of this company and I can get behind the mission of this company. This is something that I'd be excited to be a part of.
You know, when you had you always wanted to be in property management, or was this just an opportunity that kind of came forward and
No.
you did some research and we're all in?
This was just an opportunity that happened. I went to the University of Minnesota. I wrestled there for the Gophers. And right after college, I started working for a nonprofit.
Hmm.
It was a campus ministry. It's called Athletes in Action. If people are familiar with college campus ministries, it's the sports arm of Crew or Campus Crusade for Christ. And I did an internship with them for 2 years, and the internship was coming to an end. I was newly married. I needed to find a job, and I just started networking like crazy. And Andy, who's the founder of our company, was probably definitely the main guy that I had talked to when I was networking, and um, I needed to take a job, and it was hands down the most promising and exciting opportunity. So I took it.
So you mentioned you have a partner,
Yeah.
managing partner. Talk to us about how you guys have kind of divided up the responsibilities and what are your responsibilities? I think you mentioned sales, but
Yeah.
what do you do and then what does your partner do, right? And are you
Yeah.
guys focused on different areas but same areas?
Right. No, that's a really good question. So when when Andy brought me on, what he said to me was essentially, Nate, I've grown this thing as much as I can grow it by myself. And I need help. We want to get bigger, and we need somebody who um, is willing to put in the work and get after it a little bit. And so what I did was I hit the ground running with a really, really rough blueprint. I had literally no job besides grow the business. And as we knocked on doors and we closed some deals, my job started to slowly transition to a little bit less sales and a little more account management. And as we grew the book of business, that the time I was putting into sales slowly went down and the account management started to tick up. And so that's pretty much what I do. I mean, I manage a lot of our laborers that are on the jobs that we sell. I make sure that our clients, the ones that I specifically was a part of their sale, I make sure they're happy and their problems are being solved. And then since then, 6 years ago, we did bring on an account manager so that we could kind of offload some of that account management, and then start selling more and continuing to grow the business. And so Andy, right now, he did a little bit of sales, a lot of account management, and then he handles a lot of back end stuff, making sure that we have insurance, making sure our accountants have what they need, accounts payable, accounts receivable, those kinds of things.
Okay, cool. So, so maybe just share with us, what it's like running a business of this magnitude, right? In
Yeah.
this scope. You know, kind of what's a day in the life look like? What's a week look like?
Yeah. I'd say there are, in our business, there are proactive things that need to be done, and there's reactive things that need to be done. And in any given season, one of those things could be weighted more than the other. We try to stay proactive a lot more than reactive. But my job essentially on any given day, the proactive things I'm doing is I'm reaching out to clients, calling them, texting them, emailing them, or going to their properties, reviewing the work that we do, and making sure that it's excellent.
Hmm.
In the event that it's not excellent, and I have caught that before the client, which is always our preference, then I'm going to our operators who did the job, say it's um, cleaning, and there's an area of a property that we miss. I'm going to the operators and saying, hey, we found this issue. How can we fix it? And then making sure we follow through on it. The reactive stuff kind of comes into play when a client catches those issues before us, which our company, we do a really good job of staying ahead of that and catching issues before the client. But sometimes the client catches it before we do. And in those cases, then we got to fix that problem for the client.
Okay.
Uh, when we don't have a lot of problems, which is often because honestly, I don't say this to brag, but we're really darn good at what we do. So we don't have a lot of problems. That frees us up to then go out and grow the business. And that looks like that's just outreach, man. I mean, we are pretty old school, and we literally drive around and physically knock on doors. Um, and then also we will leverage a little bit of technology to our advantage for calling and emailing and things like that.
Yeah, I would say, in your space, that quote unquote what you refer to as old school reach out is probably a differentiator because
Yeah.
I don't know how many other folks in your space are doing that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, for me, I'm a millennial. I love technology. And one of the toughest things for me about our business is owning that, man, the most success that we've had when it comes to sales comes from knocking on doors. And I'm not afraid to give away that secret because I think that's the hardest type of sales to do. And so if any of our competitors hear that, be my guest and try it and see if you can do it better than we do. But I wish I do wish it's a pain point for me because I wish that we could leverage technology to our advantage to reach out to a lot of people and see a good result from that. I think that our business has an opportunity to grow in that area, but we have way more success with that personal touch than we do leveraging technology at a high level.
So let's talk a little bit about work-life balance. You mentioned you're married, three kids under
Yep.
five, obviously a managing partner in a business. What's your work-life balance look like? And what are some of the things you do to kind of stay
Yeah.
focused on what's important?
Yeah, honestly, the way that I am just wired and the way that God made me is if it were up to me, I would have very little work-life balance. And I don't say that in a proud way. It's not something that I'm proud of. I'd be all work and very little life if I could, but the reality is, because like you said, I'm married and I got three kids, my family would fall apart if I did that. And that's completely unacceptable for anybody to do to ditch their family to do that. So and I won't do it. And my wife, honestly, she's the reason why I have any work-life balance is she enforces that. She has we've had our fair share of tough conversations. Ashley's her name, with Ashley coming to me and just saying, hey, we got to do better. You need to be here more. You need to show that we're a priority. And so now, 6 years into running this business, we have some hard, semi-hard lines that are drawn. I make breakfast for the family every day. I'm the first one up in the house. I do my best to try to make sure the kids are off to a good start, and my wife has a little bit more time to sleep. And most days I pause work around the same time. Beyond that, we try to have a weekly date night, and we try to have at least one family trip per year. So that's those have been helpful for us.
So let's talk a little bit about, what are some, you mentioned the sales side was old school, but what are some of the
Mhm.
things that you guys are doing in your business to remain innovative in the space that you're in?
Oh, I think that's a really good question. We are we want to be the best, and we are always open to change. And I think that's just something that sets us apart. We aren't the kind of people that get stuck in our ways. And so if we see that a competitor is doing something better, or a client mentions, hey, you're having XYZ problem, we are always willing to make the necessary changes in order to get better for our clients and set ourselves apart. Always.
So it sounds like feedback is a really important part of this loop, right? Feedback from your clients and then also
It is.
probably your employees.
It is, and actually it's something that we do every single year, sometimes multiple times a year, is we'll have really specific conversations with clients at the end of the year. And we'll say, hey, what did we do really well? And what would you like to see us do better? And even we'll get down to the nitty gritty. If there's an individual, I mean, like on our team, I know my business partner Andy, he's called clients that I work with and said, "Hey, how is Nate doing for you? Is there anything that Nate specifically can do better?" And he'll come back to me with those answers, and we try to have a really our I think our culture is big on not being too proud and not being too prideful, and always being willing to get better. And so yeah, that's feedback's huge.
Good. Would you mind offering us maybe just a glimpse into some of the future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. We're a growth company. We always want to get bigger. About a year, so we're in Minnesota, based out of the Twin Cities metro area. Over the past couple years, we've been expanding out of the metro, even 3 hours outside of the metro area. And about a year ago, we started a new division in the Nashville area. And so we're expanding geographically, but we're also trying to get deeper where we are and acquire more of a market share in our local markets here. So long term, we have lofty visions. We want to be a global company. And I think that starts with becoming more national. But in 100 years, we hope this company is still around, and it's all over the world.
That's great. So maybe share with us why Nashville?
Nashville, great question. We're really big on people, and we're really big on relationships. And literally, there was an individual that we were working really closely with who said, I love what you guys are doing. I love the business model. I want to be a part of it. Um, can we make that work? And that conversation started happening. It got further and further down the road, to the point where everybody was ready to say yes and put the green light on it. And he's a guy that he and his family do like a homestead, and so they try to live off the grid as much as possible. I think the only thing they buy from the grocery store are eggs and milk. And so there was a homesteading opportunity for them out in Nashville that they found, and he said, hey, can we take this to Nashville? And the answer was yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Open to ideas and being open to different concepts and change has led you guys now to Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a big part of that is that's something that could be scary for a lot of people, but something that I think our founder does a really good job of, and I try to do a really good job of too, is when we see a task that feels like a big task. My dad always said to me, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so we have that mentality. We're going to take one bite at a time. And at the end of the day, we'll have eaten that whole elephant. And it was that same way with Nashville. I mean, it's kind of scary. How do you start a company in a different state that you don't live in? Well, you just start. You figure out the insurance piece. You figure out if there are any different laws that you have to abide by, and slowly, as time goes on, you've got a plan that works.
And you must have had a lot of confidence in this person, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm sure a
that's
big part of it is, okay, who am I betting on too, right?
right. Is huge, and you're right. I mean, a business, especially a small business, cannot survive with the wrong people, And this was his name's Griffin, and Griffin is just a man of super high character, and is a really hardworking guy, and so it wouldn't have worked without an individual like that.
That's great. So I actually appreciate you sharing that story. Now, knowing that this show is going to be targeted towards people who may be thinking about starting a business or maybe in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, John, I think that running a business is awesome. We love it. It's not for everybody. But if somebody is interested in that, I think you just go for it. And I don't think it matters necessarily what point you're at in your life. I mean, if you're young and you don't have expenses and family to support, it's a lot easier for sure. I think about there are many businesses we've wanted to start, but at this point in our life, it's a lot harder because of the responsibilities that we have. So I think if you're young, go for it. But if you're also in a spot where you have certain responsibilities, I think you can go for it at that point too, and just eat that elephant one bite at a time. And the last thing I'd say is if you can find somebody who has done already what you want to do, and you can follow that person, and that's great. Our wrestling coach in college, he used to say, if you want to get to the top of the mountain, ask the guy that goes there every single day. And I found that to be so true in my life. And so if you want to start a laundry business, find somebody who owns a laundry business and see how they do it, and be willing to put a little sweat equity in to help them out and learn the ropes.
I think that's great. That's a great way to kind of close this out. I started this business when I was 50 years old,
Wow.
and that was in 2015.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
you're never too old to do something that you really want to do and that you love to do. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your time. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Have a great day.
And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.